Camera. We had some nice music. We're all motivated and relaxed and in our wellness mode. So, welcome. Tonight, you're in store for something wonderful and exciting. I hope you're ready. This young lady has been very, very instrumental in my life, thanks to her auntie, who is my mentor. Hey, Dr. Hathaway. And so she's been in my life for a long time, helping our family. And I'm so glad that she's going to be here tonight with you all, sharing some great information. And looking forward to seeing how you guys are going to just love up Helena and pour on her. So, without further ado, she's given up some of her great time. She's been traveling all over the country. So, we got a few moments with her. So, thank you, Helena, and she's going to bless you all tonight. So make sure you have a pencil and paper and get your questions ready. She's going to probably blow your mind like she did me and my husband, but I'll let her share that with you all. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Helena. Don't forget the J, Connolly. So welcome, Helena. Everybody give
I
Helena.
appreciate both of you ladies. Yes, I am excited on this Wellness Wednesday. Some like to call it Wind Down Wednesday. So, however you take it, do what you got to do. But it is also Hump Day and everything else that you need it to be day. But I'm excited to be here to chat with you guys. I know we have a good amount of time to be together tonight. I will not hold you that long. But I do want you to feel free at any point throughout our talk together to go ahead and jump in, ask me any questions. You don't have to wait till the end. You don't have to put it in the chat. You can just come off mute and let me know if there's anything that you want to get some additional information on. So, just a little bit about myself. I am Helena, as the lady said, and I am a teacher by trade. So, I am born and raised in good old sunny Southern California, Inglewood to be exact. Right now, I'm actually in Inglewood, but I travel pretty much half the month, having these kind of conversations and meeting with as many women as possible, as far as empowerment and partnership, collaboration, education, all of that. So my teaching background is in mathematics. So I taught high school and college math for 13 years. All through Los Angeles Unified as well as for University of Phoenix. And for the last 13 years, I've been in the financial space, specifically in the retirement industry. I focus on life insurance and annuities. But one thing I've learned is we do not talk about money. Right. I've taught every level of math and I have two math degrees. So I know there's definitely a gap in us talking about money, understanding money, ways in which we can build our wealth, protect our wealth, and preserve our wealth. And so hopefully you'll get a few nuggets that are new to you today or, may resonate a little bit differently than they have in the past. But I really just want you to think about those things for yourself. Where are you in your financial journey right now? Where are you looking to be, in 2025? I always love having these kind of conversations at the end of the year as well as at the beginning of the year because it really gives you a chance to just slow down and do a check-in. And then also truly, truly plan for 2025. And, hopefully you guys will enjoy me and I'll be asked back so we can talk, do a little encore, but also add some stuff specific to, planning out a year worth of your financial situation for 2025. So thank you so much again, Mariama, for allowing me this opportunity to talk and let's get to it. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, please, please, please jump in at any time and I'll be able to address them. And I'll tell you this, if I don't have the answer, I will get it for you. But we want to make sure that we can give you as much information as possible. So before I jump into any slides, I do want to ask you guys a question. And yes, if anybody wants to turn on their camera, I love faces. I'm a teacher, so I love interaction, but I understand it's nighttime and folks is getting home and cooking and dealing with the babies. So no problem if not, but I love seeing faces. So let me ask you guys a question. Even if you are your camera's off, if you can unmute or put it in a chat, what are your first memories of money? That's the question I always ask when I start the conversation around financial wellness. And Mariam, it's so funny. I was on a call right before I got on here, and I told them, I said, I'm doing a talk on finance. Financial wellness is self-care. And they were like, oh, I like that. I was like, okay, I'll ask if we can borrow it. But how it is self-care, right? If you really do things correctly, it's self-care, or it should be. But a lot of us have a lot of trauma built around our relationship with money. So if anybody like to share or put it in the chat and we can share it for you. But does anyone want to give just a little bit on what their first memories of money are, good or bad? But who would like to share for me? I'll tell you mine while you're thinking about it, right? For me, my mom was a small business owner. So I actually started working at a very young age. She was in the garment industry. And so whenever I came home, it was around 8 years old, I would see patterns of clothes hanging on the back of the door. And I knew I was time for me to make money, right? Didn't know much about it, but I know she taught me that skill set at a very, very young age. And I was just like, okay, I can earn money. I can go after the things that I want. So that was one of my early memories. And I think someone posted in the chat, I hope I don't mispronounce your name, Akuswa, Akoswa. My first job paycheck was a shock. I had no idea the taxes. That's still a shock to many people every day, all day. Go ahead and pronounce your name for me, sweetheart.
Akosia.
Akosia. Thank you so much. That is a shock, and that's actually going to be one of our full slides that we're going to talk about tonight. Is all about taxes and how to legally minimize those. Okay. Thank you. And then we have Desiree. My earliest memories are about my mom. She always had at least two jobs. That second job was her discretionary money or filled in the gaps. That was instilled in me, and I feel like I have a positive relationship with money because of that. Um, we all have heard the saying, right? If you only have one income, you're too close to none. So always thinking about whether you want to call it a hustle, a side gig, a second job, whatever it is, just understanding that having multiple streams of income, if we're going to talk about the way the wealthy think, we're talking 5 to 8. Okay. So I understand that that is a wonderful memory, and that gave you a good relationship with money. So I like that. And then Maya Lee says, my mother taught me to save money and not. Now, you guys all got some positive memories. Nobody on here has a negative memory. Money don't grow on trees. We can't afford that. We got to wait till the first of the month. Like, nobody had that experience.
Well, I didn't want to say too much. I see my sister got on the call, so I don't want to embarrass us. But
You don't have to know that's your sister.
We see all. I saw all spectrums of money. I saw. We grew up on welfare, so I saw food stamps. But I also know that my mom also had a side hustle. She had businesses. I remember hearing my parents sold clothes. They had a garment store or something like that. But I remember my mom working hard and not ever having enough money and feeling like I needed more. So that's what I remember about money.
Yeah, that's still a very current feeling living in Southern California. For me, I know everybody is everywhere. It just does not ever seem to be enough money. It really does not. We pay a lot of money for this good old sun to stay nice and wonderful pretty much all year long. So that's still a current feeling. Well, I appreciate you guys participating with me. I'm going to be asking more questions throughout the chat together. Also, one more. Oh, thank you. My mom worked at a bank, and all through, but she never taught me about money and banking, which really hurt in my 20s. Yeah, because most of us learn what we learn from our parents. And one thing I will say is our parents, I do believe they absolutely gave us all that they could, right? All that they knew to give us. So of course, we don't have any issues toward that. But yeah, a lot of them did not know. Like I said, today, and what are we? December 4th, 2024, you're going to get a little bit extra new information today. So what we don't know, we don't know. But you'll also hear me say, I don't believe knowledge is power. And this is an educator speaking. Okay. It's the implementation of the knowledge that's powerful. So we could have had instances where we've heard the information, our parents heard the information in the past, but without implementing it and having any references to, go back to, we didn't know, right? So my hope is that you'll get some information here that if you have a financial person, take it to them. Ask them, hey, how can we? If you don't, get a person. I can be your person. You'll have all my contact information at the end. But please, please, please don't just hear the information and say she's great, even though you can say I'm great. Okay, that part doesn't matter. All right, one more. Yep, that was my first memory, not having enough of it. All right, so let me jump into it, ladies. All right, we have. And sometimes my share works, sometimes it doesn't. So let me know. You guys can see that? Yes, perfect. Thank you, Mariana. Let me move us because I still need to see some faces. And I'm going to take the slides off, put the slides up, move them around. I like to interact. So that's a little bit about me. I am an educator by trade. Like I said, I've been an entrepreneur in this space for the last, I took a early retirement 2015 from the district. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur since then. I do specialize as a licensed professional in retirement annuities and life insurance. And that is my life license in California, but I can help all throughout the country. All right. Oh, I missed a very important part. So you'll see that at the top, it says Project 1000, right? That is a mission that myself and a lot of partners that I work with are on. I am in the space of empowering women. So people from all different backgrounds, different financial sectors, different, just life's period. It's very important for me to make sure that people get the education that they need around money and that they're able to properly plan and they have people that they can utilize. And so it's not just me. It is a mission with a lot of people that I work with. And the goal is to, and you'll see it at the bottom of that picture when I blow it up, is to truly financially empower 1,000 families a year. That's the minimum goal. And we always are looking for help in which to do that. So here's the agenda for today. Money mindset. We started with that, right? Just thinking about our first memories of money. Give you a roadmap to financial strength. It'll be 4 steps. Just what I like to call a financial building blocks. A lot of people do finances in the opposite order of what I really believe that we should do finances in, and then talk about the wealth transfer for women, because it's a lot. It is a lot that's coming down the pipeline for us women over the next 6 years. And then how to apply some of these things, how to implement some of these things. And I'll be definitely asking you guys for things that you've done in the past. And then I've been a firm believer always of books and you really, really, really being able to lean on other people's experience in order to get where I'm going in life. So I'll share, some of my book lists with you guys. Okay. Any questions so far? Feel free to unmute, pop in, because I can no longer see the chat once I start sharing. All right. So step 1, you guys, all of these things I promise you've heard of, but how are we implementing them and how can we as a group start having this conversation? How can we make another person feel more secure in theirs? How can we make another person feel more vulnerable and relatable in their situation, right? So we're going to talk through this, but 1, manage your money wisely. Very importantly, don't spend more than you make. And I know that is easier said than done. Coming from the person who has been in that situation, right? None of this is beneath me because I've been doing this for 13 years, okay? But one thing I always suggest to people is, or mention is, you really can't make changes to what you don't know is happening, right? So even though I make a lot of people cry when I give them this exercise, it's very, very invaluable. You got to sit down, and now is a better time than ever, and really just do a review of your finances. So I like to say your money in and your money out. Okay. Everything is so digital these days, right? You guys remember that episode way back in the day from the Cosby Show when Theo thought he wanted to go live on his own and Dr. Huxtable took the cash out of an imaginary paycheck and waved it in front of him and said, okay, now let's live off of this. And he took money from the rent. He was like, what? Half of his money was gone just from pulling the rent out. Then he said, oh, and you want to have some clothes. Oh, because you like to be fashionable, right? So he took money out for the clothes. Oh, you want to eat too. Oh, you want to date the ladies too. He got through 3 things and he was broke. Okay. Now with everything being digital, nobody cashes a paycheck. Nobody even goes inside of a bank pretty much, right? So when is the last time that you sat down and you truly, truly, truly looked at every dollar that you brought in from all of your wealth sources and checked every dollar that you spent? Okay. I try very hard not to use cash. It is not trackable. Okay. So when you do this exercise for yourselves, which I encourage everyone to do, literally it's very antiquated. You print everything out. Every bank account you have, every Cash App, every Venmo, every Zelle, every credit card, every way that money comes in and out of your life, print 1 month worth of a statement out for those accounts. And literally line by line, itemize until you truly know where every single dollar that you spend goes. Okay. And if you want to be real fancy, which hurts even more, is that you put your wants in a highlighted color and you put your needs in just a black ink. Okay. It really makes it a reality of what we're doing with our money. And when I say it makes people cry, it made me cry when I did it when I first sat down. And by the way, the only reason I even came into the financial industry and started paying attention to my money working for LAUSD is because they gave me a $12,000 pay cut 3 months after I bought a house. So imagine going from a $900 a month rent, this is 2012, you guys, and going to a $1,600 a month mortgage, but losing $1,000 a month. So I had to pay attention to where my money went. Okay. And so when you do that exercise, it becomes really, really, really visible to what you're doing. So one of the things that I had to stop doing immediately, and I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay. I'm here for you guys to just really take a look for yourselves, what's important and what's not. I realized I was spending over $300 a month at Starbucks. You guys know Starbucks at that time pretty much only sold coffee. Coffee that comes out of my Keurig machine that I had at home. Coffee that has the same flavor as all the different coffees that I had from my Keurig machine, along with all the creamers. But it was just so much sweeter and so much more convenient to pick it up on the way to work. So I told myself, nobody's going to stick with something that they love that they're never able to do anymore. So I said, you know what, Helena, get yourself a $50 Starbucks card and every month just recharge it. So you still get to enjoy the things that you like, but you're not going overboard with it, right? And it may be for you any one of your vices, right? It may be you realizing that you give a lot to family. And it's wonderful to help out everybody, but sometimes it's just not necessary, right? So doing that exercise, I find to be very, very helpful for everybody that I work with. Second thing is managing your debt, which we'll get into. Third thing is your emergency fund. Pre-COVID, I always used to share with people, which most of us have heard, that you need to have at least 3 months of your expenses in an emergency fund. Okay. And that emergency fund needs to be liquid. And that emergency fund needs to be only in the interruption of income, not if the tire blows out, not if somebody invited you on the most fabulous vacation, not if your kid forgot to tell you about something that they need. That's a rainy day fund. Emergency fund should be strictly for the interruption in income. That's it. Okay. Now it should be closer to 6 months to a year is always my suggestion. Because if COVID didn't teach us anything, it absolutely taught us that we have no clue if something crazy is going to happen and wipe people out. There are people, a lot of people still recovering from the losses of COVID. Okay. Fourth thing is setting financial goals. One thing I want you to take a moment to do, and I am going to ask a couple of people to share out. Okay. What is one financial goal you have for yourself over the next year? It could be something that you started in 2024 that you're hoping to accomplish, but write this down. Moyofune did say we'll be taking notes. I am a teacher. I want you to be able to go back and look at this later and actually work on it, okay? But what is, and feel free to share out with me, please. Again, I can't see the chat, so if it comes in the chat, somebody let me know. But if not, feel free to unmute. What is one financial goal that you have for yourself to be accomplished in 2025? Would anyone like to share for me?
This is, excuse me, this is Tony.
It's Tony.
And
Hi.
I know one of mine is to, there's a credit card. Well, I have more than one, but I'm doing the stair-step method. So to pay off at least one credit card next year in full.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Do you have all your credit cards written down, since you said there's more than one, the interest rate and the minimum and the total?
So I did that probably middle of this year, and I need to refresh that and see my progress. So I will be doing that this month to
I
get
love it.
a solid start for 2025.
I love it. One of my general rules of thumb when it comes to money, and a lot of things, but definitely when it comes to money, is that we should do a review of it every quarter. Okay. With most of our things in life, we aren't good enough to give it an entire year. Weight loss, relationships, money, career moves, we're just not good enough to wait an entire year, because I don't know about y'all, but for me, life be lifing. Which means something I thought I was planning on doing, put down a to-do list, everything, and the to-do list still sitting here from 3 months ago. So I encourage us to take at least a day a quarter, a day every quarter. If you can get it in every month, great. But for all of your goals that you set out. Okay. One of the books, I'll throw this out there now. I'm going to talk about more books at the end, but write this down. One of the books that I live by is 12-week year. Okay. And Moyo, if you do not mind looking up, because I know you have this book as well, just look up the author for me and just put it in the chat so everyone can get it. But 12-week year, it's 2 authors, somebody and somebody. But it talks about, instead of giving yourself a 12-month period to get stuff done, give yourself 12 weeks. And it breaks down exactly how you do the tracking, how you change your mentality, all of that. It's fascinating. And I usually read it around this time so I can make sure I have my 12-week goals. And no, it's not per quarter goals, but they emphasize that it is considered 12-week year. So that's one of my book suggestions. Okay. So thank you. Can I get one more person to share out about a financial goal that they have for 2025?
Yes.
Akosia.
Akosia.
Yes.
My goal, and I started now, is to have savings automatically deducted and placed in my savings account.
I love it. Now,
Automatic.
I'm going to give you a little something extra, okay? So
Okay.
that's the task to get you to the goal. The goal is how much you want to have. I don't need
$1 million. $1 million. I can answer that right away.
In next year. In next year.
It's all good.
But that's one thing, you guys, that I learned a lot in the 12-week year book is people use the task as the goal. But the task is to get you to the goal. So you have to check your task on a regular basis, right? To make sure you're doing 80% of those tasks, i.e., I want to have, $100,000 saved. Okay, so what do I have to do, right? I have to make sure that I'm rounding up every week. I have to make sure that I'm only sticking to this much of something. Whatever those 3 or 4 tasks are that you need to do on a weekly basis that are going to lead you to the goal, that's the task. But the goal is, what is my end game? Okay.
Is
So
the
think about that. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi, I'm
Hey, sweetie.
Carol. Is the high yield savings account a better, more beneficial way to create or have a savings account?
We're going to talk about those, but I will answer that in the short. Yes. Okay. A high yield saving right now is pretty much something I recommend to every person that I'm working with. Okay. And very simply, you guys can go right on to bankrate.com, bankrate.com, and click on high yield savings at the top. It says a couple different things, and just see what's paying the highest yield right now. Okay. It might be Capital One. It might be SoFi. It might be Barclays. It might be your American Express. It might be Chase. Who knows? But they change so frequently. Okay. I'm not saying change it every time it changes, but right now, if that's the space that you're in, pick one. Okay. Because high yield savings, yes, they pay more than the bank account, a traditional bank account. They're also pretty liquid. When I say pretty liquid, it will take you sometimes a day or 2 to get the money transferred over. Okay, but still very liquid for the a majority of time. And so, yes, it absolutely is something that should be included. Another rule of thumb is get 1 month of those emergency funds in your your savings account, leave it there, your regular basic savings account. Other than that, take it out of your regular savings account and put it into a high yield so you're not seeing it consistently. Okay. But 1 month, just in case something happened and you accidentally pull too much out or whatever, you want to have 1 month in the savings attached to your checking. But the rest should absolutely, that is my general rule of thumb, is to be in the high yield savings because they're producing better than the banks right now. And you have to check on those things consistently. Very good question. Thank you for that, Carol.
Thank you.
All right. This is the debt conversation, which somebody mentioned. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. Please forgive me. But these are just a couple of the terminologies that are out there when it comes to taking care of debt. Yeah. First thing I suggest you do is what I mentioned earlier, write down all of your debts. And your debts are not just credit cards. Okay. Your debt could be student loan. Your debt could be IRS debt. Your debt could be medical bills. Your debt could be a personal loan. Every liability that you have, list it out. Okay. If you like Excel, which I love, make an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Name the company. Name the total balance. Name the total limit. Name the interest amount. Name the, if it's a balance transfer and you have a certain interest to a certain amount, name that. Okay. Name the due date. Make the spreadsheet so everything is right there. And depending on which one of these you want to do, you do. Okay. Snowball is what I find to be the most popular, right? Which it says number 2, knock them out one by one. Okay. So once you know everything that's on your spreadsheet, then you want to take out the smallest balance first. So let's say you have a credit card that has $300 balance, one that has $1,200. You have a IRS debt that has this, or you have a big debt, right? The snowball says pay all your minimums. Every debt plan should say pay your minimums. Okay. Pay your minimums, and then from your minimums, once that smallest amount is off, leave it alone. Do not close the account. Let me say this first. I'm not a credit specialist. I am not licensed to be a credit specialist. It's information that everybody can go look up. Okay. You know what my licenses are in. But this is information we can all go research ourselves. But when you pay that smallest amount off, if let's say you were paying $100 a month to that, take that $100 and snowball it into the next smallest. Still pay your minimums, but now that $100 you now are paying on top to the next smallest one. And when I say don't close the card, that does have a negative effect in most situations. I'll put that disclaimer. Let's just say in most situations. Okay. So closing cards and all that kind of stuff, talk to a professional for that. But my understanding is no. Okay. That's the snowball. Avalanche talks about what? Figuring out the interest, right? So what interest is the most? Which one is taking the most extra money out of your account, right? And that may be something when I gave the first piece of exercise was to list out everything you pay. Interest is a pay. So on those credit card bills, you should have on your Excel spreadsheet or however you're keeping track, interest. Fees, all of those things are a part of your expenses, okay? So that's the avalanche method, is to take the largest interest out and then roll that money over to the next one. Consolidation, which it is there's a lot of debt consolidation plans and stuff out there. Again, this is not my license. You can read and see what you want to do. One thing I do know from what clients have told me is that when you do the debt relief programs, they require you to stop paying all your bills, which means anything you think about purchasing and however much time it takes them to do that, your credit just took a tank. So even though you may not have anything on the horizon right now that you want to pay off, who knows? Okay. So just my thought, think about that. But consolidating, meaning you get a balance transfer card that can take up to $5,000. You can roll all these other little ones into one and pay it off in a 12-month with 0 interest or 1 interest. Great. Okay. But be very leery of the stuff that has to take an immediate hit in order to make it better in the long run. So which one's best for you? You figure it out. But these are just knowing what your options are. And it's very, very important that you do make a plan for it. And hopefully the plan is something that you can set and forget. Okay. All right. So step 2 is protection. Remember, we're going through our roadmap. First one was manage your money wisely. Second one is protection. So my question for you all out there, and I definitely want some responses here. What is your greatest asset? Someone please share for me. What is your greatest asset? Thank you, Moyo, for posting that. Anyone want to tell me what their greatest asset is?
Yourself, myself.
Why yourself, Didi?
Because without me, I won't be able to make money or make money work for me.
Because an
life
asset
is life.
means that. I love it.
Right.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I cut you off. I was excited what you said. Say that again, the last part.
I forgot. I think I was going to say that it's about life, and life is worth more than any type of property or anything like that. So
what you said that I love is, right, an asset means it makes you money in your pocket, something that gives you some sort of return. Okay. So when people think about their assets, first thing that most people think about are these things: my family, my job, my health, my money. That's what most people start with. Money and house, the two at the bottom. But Dee Dee, in my opinion, you're absolutely right. Your income earning ability is the most important asset that we have. Think about it. God forbid you pass away. You're no longer bringing money in. So you are no longer doing what an asset does, provides money. If you get sick, in most instances, you are no longer an asset, meaning bringing money in. Okay. One of the reasons, or one thing that I try to talk to people about when they say that their home is an asset. Asset, money in your pocket, liability, money out. Most people are paying a mortgage. That means it is a liability. Now, you think about the equity inside your house, it's still not yours until you get it out. And sometimes I know a lot of people who are unable to get their equity out. A lot of people, you probably agree with me, aren't able to afford the house that they live in now because they bought it for a couple $100,000. Now it will be $1 million. Incomes haven't gone up enough to stretch that and qualify, right? So yes, there's equity in there, but if you can't get it out, it's still not an asset. Let's say you paid your house off. How wonderful is that? You still have to pay property taxes. Miss a year of property taxes, it's no longer yours, right? So it's not what I consider an asset. Is it valuable? Absolutely. But an asset by definition is money in your pocket. So you have to make sure that you have one, enough protection in place. God forbid you pass away. If you own a home and it has a $300,000 mortgage, you should minimally have $300,000 of coverage, death benefit coverage. Don't care how, what, when, it has to be at least that much. Okay. If you have a spouse and your incomes are independent or dependent of each other, you need to be able to replace that income, usually times 10. If you have young children, you want to make sure that their lives can remain the same for however long. It may be till they're 18, it may be till they're 25, but understanding how debt, if you pass away today and you leave your family with debt, that is a very, very, very rough thing. And me being in the industry, I have seen it happen a ton of times. So making sure you have the right amount of coverage is first. The right kind of coverage, I'll focus on one piece of that because like I said, it's not just about passing away. It's about any one of these things on the screen happening. How many of you guys have, just a show of hands, some form of life insurance outside of your job? Outside of your job, show of hands. I see only one person. Wow. Okay. Find a person. I can be that person, but find a person. Okay. Life insurance in your job typically does not give you enough. It does not cover all of those things if you pass away. There are some jobs, lots of them actually, where you can purchase a separate plan, okay, that will give you maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times your salary. Okay, definitely look to that because job insurance is penny on the dollars. So yes, that's a great thing. But if you're no longer at that job, okay, you quit the job, you retire from the job, you get fired from the job, something happened to the company, that coverage isn't there. And then try getting coverage when you're older. Who knows what health will be like. Also, our job plans, I have not found one in my 13 years in this industry that pays you in the event that you get cancer. I'm not talking about your disability plan, which will pay you up to $20,000. I'm talking about a policy that will pay you up to $1 million should you be stricken with any of these things outside of your job. If you do not have it, and it's only been around for the past 10 years in California, you have to review your policies. What I say, review your money in, money out. Review your debt, review your policies, okay? If your policy does not have all 3 of those terminologies as a rider, okay? Terminal illness, chronic illness, and critical illness. Every policy has terminal, but doctors are very, very unlikely to diagnose us as terminally ill. It's the cancers, where 1 in every 8 Black women are diagnosed with breast cancer alone. 1 in every 2 people are going to be diagnosed with some form of cancer. Every 40 seconds, someone is having a heart attack or a stroke. These things are happening regardless of age, regardless of sex, regardless of race. Okay? we have to have our own coverages in place, and it does not cost you anything to sit down with your person. They shouldn't be charging you, or with another person, get a free consultation and review of your policy. September's Life Insurance Awareness Month. I'm sure if you're on social media, you saw a lot of people in the field having this conversation. You have to take the time and review it. Bust out the old papers, figure out where it's at, call the carrier, get a copy of your policy, make sure you understand what you have, because not having it and needing it is a problem. It's disastrous. Okay, so understand not just death benefit, but living benefits as well.
I'm sorry, can you go back one slide? I didn't get the three.
Terminal, chronic, and critical.
Got it. Thank you.
Every policy has terminal. So if you see terminal, don't just say, oops, I got it. Nope. Check for critical, check for chronic. And if your policy is older than 2013 in California, most other states as well, it does not have critical illness because it was not allowed before 2013. So make sure you take a moment for that. Say it again.
Sorry.
No worries.
As I'm learning, it's challenging to get life insurance of a certain age. So I'm wondering if that is something that you address and deal with and could
absolutely.
perhaps...
So in my time, again, it's been 13 years, things have definitely changed, right? For example, well, life insurance, I think we all know it or any insurance, it is a transfer of risk to the insurance carrier. Car insurance, homeowners insurance, home warranty claims, life insurance, cell phone insurance, all insurances are saying this company is going to pay you out if something happens to the life, to the car, to the house, to whatever the case is, right? So they are checking for risk. They want to know how much they should be worried about you being a risk. Over my 13 years, they have changed how they see risk. For example, and most of us have probably dealt with it personally, but when I started in this industry, if you had anxiety, you were pretty much declined automatically, because they did not understand how it was dealt with and how people processed it and what medications did for people and all that kind of stuff. But over their time and their research, that's changed totally. Another thing I'll say about life insurance, the older you are, the more they expect us to have issues. So they don't count very much against us. High cholesterols, blood pressure, even cancers in the past, heart attacks in the past, all of pre-existing conditions are not an automatic cancellation. They're not. But you have to sit down and you have to be able to get a risk assessment from a licensed professional. Hopefully that person is non-captive, which means they work with different carriers. So if this carrier doesn't take you, maybe another one will. Okay. And so depending on your health issues, which I was just doing a call with a gentleman earlier, I want to know the medication name. I want to know the diagnosis date. I want to know how long you've been on and what's the milligrams. All of those things matter for the insurance companies to do their proper risk so they can decide, yes, this person is expected to be in this situation for the next 30 years. We'll make our money because they're a business first. So yes, you just have to make sure you get a risk assessment. And yes, I've had people that were unable to get approved based on their health issues. The younger you are, yeah, there's problems.
Right.
You have diabetes at 25, you have, high blood pressure at 30. They see those things different than they do a 63-year-old. But it really matters as far as getting your own risk assessment.
Is there a way after you get that assessment that you can appeal it?
Yes.
And is that
will it change? Maybe not. But
is that like what's the word I'm looking for? Is there a chance of you succeeding in an appeal?
Yes.
I can't remember that word.
Yes. Yes. Overturning it maybe. But what happens, I'm dealing with a client right now. When I did his risk assessment, he seemed like he should come back as standard, perfectly fine, older gentleman. He did his insurance application. He came back declined. So what happens when you come back declined is the insurance carrier will send you a letter that says this report is the report that we use to decline you. So you have a right to go get that report within, I think it's 90 days. So he just this morning sent me his report. So now I can take that report to different carriers and shop it. And I can also take it back to the carrier that declined him and say, hey, you saw this medication, but it is linked to this, but for him, it's not linked to that. right? So they can do further evaluation, definitely being independent and being able to take it to other carriers. Yes, there is a chance that it can be overturned. Can it still stay a decline sometimes? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's why you get a professional license to be able to check these different things for you. Very important. Thank you for those questions.
So thank you.
All right, accumulate assets. So accumulate assets. Okay, I want to ask you guys, what are some of the financial landmines? Another word I like to use are enemies. What are some of the enemies? Just give me one enemy for us being able to accumulate the most assets possible for ourselves. Anyone have something they like to say? What are some,
Taxes.
say it again?
Taxes.
I came into this industry, Maya, because of taxes. When I learned that I had been working for 9 years for Los Angeles Unified, saving in a pension plan, 'cause we're one of the few companies that still have pensions, as well as a 403B, because I was a saver in 403B, okay? All of the money that I was saving for my future was going to be taxed. And what most people can assume, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, what most people can assume is that taxes are going to go up, not stay the same and not go down. So instead of, not paying taxes on, let's say, $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year, I let my account grow to $6,000 and now I'm paying 30% taxes on that. So yes, taxes is a huge landmine, and I'll show you some ways around that. Any other enemies that you guys can think of?
Mortgages.
Mortgages? Why is
Yes.
mortgage an enemy?
Well, I just personally believe the idea of owning a home is not necessary.
Owning a home and not
I,
what?
is not necessary.
Oh, and I tell people all the time, that may not be in your plan. And it does not absolutely have to be, right? But it's not a landmine. You just choose not to do it. It doesn't hurt your situation if you don't choose to do it, right? But
Okay.
I totally understand. Not for one with some people don't ever want to be a landlord. I get it. So no, that's not a problem at all. No looking any kind of way about folks, but it's something you just choose not to do, right? Not killing you if you do it or if you don't do it. Anybody else? One more?
I have some. I think I want to comment on that because I think when you own a home, I think something like the first 2/3 or something of that mortgage, that principal is interest.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying a lot of interest on that home before you can actually get to paying on the principal
Yep.
amount.
Which is why a lot of people don't believe in it. I totally get it. I do. Okay. One thing I'll ask you guys, right? Everybody know Warren Buffett? We've all heard him of at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
He has 2 rules, financial rules. Anybody know them? His first rule is do not lose money. His second rule is never forget rule number 1. Those are his financial rules, right? So another enemy is risk. Okay. I am not here telling you do not invest your money, not at all. But understanding what your tolerance, what your amount of loss is that you're willing to take before you're ready to knock your husband, your wife out, your child, your boss, or yourself. Make sure you know that number. Okay. That's what you have to pay attention to. Tell people all the time, I love to go play bingo. I'm not taking my mortgage when I go. Okay. So understanding what you're willing to lose is very, very important when you take on risk. And I'm going to show you an idea about risk that maybe you do not know. All right. So here are the ones that I want to share with you a little bit about: inflation, okay, taxes, and risk. Okay. So we all know what inflation is. It simply means that every single year it costs more to live. That's inflation, simply put. Okay. I used to go to the grocery store. I spent $100. I got the entire cart full of food. I go to the grocery store now. I get a bag, one of them little thin plastic bags that you put the fruit in, not even a full Rouse bag. One little plastic bag for the same amount of money. That's inflation. Cars, houses. What did you buy your house for? What did your parents buy? What did your parents buy their houses for 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? And what does that same house cost now? So inflation is a real thing, whether you like it or not, okay? But what you have to do in order to outpace inflation is make sure you're getting compound interest. So one of the questions that were raised earlier about using a high yield savings are great, but they don't give you compound. So is it the best way to save for long term? Probably not. Okay? Because compound interest simply means that your money doubles quicker. This is a rule. Told you guys I'm a double math major. I taught every level of math, right? Never heard of rule of 72 until I came into this industry. Take whatever interest rate you're getting, divide it into 72, and that's how long it takes your money to double. So if you're in the bank earning 1%, 1 into 72 means it takes 72 years for your money to double. No one on this call, including my nephew who will be 5 in January, has 72 years to wait before their money doubles. But that's where we are getting, that's what we're getting, that's where we're saving, okay? Look at the difference here, because this was even more mind-blowing to me. Most people would think if you doubled your interest, so you went from 4 to 8, you would double your outcome. This scenario shows us that we don't only double, but we quadruple. Why? Because you created 2 extra doubling periods. So 2 times 2 is 4. So your 4% divided into 72 means every 18 years your money doubles. 10,000 at 34 turns to 20,000 at 52, which turns to 40,000 at 70. You get 2 doubling periods in pretty much your working life. Double that interest, you double every 9 years. So your 10,000 jumps to 40,000 at year 52. Then it goes to 160 because you created an extra doubling period by age 70. Same dollar, earning more interest, giving you a lot more return. Very, very important for you to understand about your interest. Can everybody hear? No? Yeah? Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, I think we can hear. Okay. I just see people popping. Nobody said, okay, cool. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so that's interest, right? So here's the good old taxes, okay? This is something to me that changed the entire way that I think about money, because I am a firm believer in paying my taxes. I don't ever want to see the inside of a jail, ever, okay? So I believe in taxes, but I believe in paying my fair share of taxes. And when you understand, I see you, Dee Dee, when you understand how to properly diversify, okay, hear me, you guys. People hear the word diversification and they think it means one stock versus the other. Oh, should I use Costco stock? Oh, should I use Starbucks stock? Oh, should I put it in the airline industry? That's not diversification, you guys. Diversification, well, that's one form. Let me say that. It's one form. What I pay most attention to as a foundational level is how much money I'm going to have to pay taxes on the money that I'm earning, because we're all here to earn more money, okay? So if you look at these 3 categories, now I don't have everything that exists under these 3 categories, but those are your 3 categories. That's it, okay? Tax now money, tax later money, tax advantage money, okay? What does it mean? So tax now means exactly what it says. You pay taxes in that current tax year. So if you do have a CD or a high yield saving and you earn, $25 in that year, you're paying taxes at that tax time. That's what it means for tax now. If you invest in a brokerage account, let's say the stock market, whether it's a mutual fund or it's a stock or cryptocurrencies or any of the things, right, that are your brokerage accounts, stocks or money market, mutual funds, money markets, all of that, you pay taxes in that year. Now, if you took a loss on the account, then you get to write it off, but you still have to take care of it in that year. Real estate, some of you guys might be saying, oh no, if I'm been in my house for 10 years, I don't have to pay taxes every year. You got to pay property taxes, right? But when you sell real estate, the tax implication, capital gains, is due in that following tax year. That's what tax now means. So it means your seed is taxed, why that circle has a little blue in it, But every year, as you make money in that account, you pay taxes again. So you're paying taxes on the seed and the harvest. That's tax now. Tax later means the partial opposite, right? You don't pay taxes on the seed. So on your paycheck, right, at the end of the year, if you use any of these typical retirement accounts, you just lowered your $100,000 income to $75,000 to $80,000 to $90,000, whatever you wrote off, right? You lower your taxes today. You grow your money big with compound interest because that's what it's supposed to do. I just showed you that chart. But now you have to pay taxes on every dollar you pull out of that account for the rest of your life. Okay? That's tax later. That's our typical 401ks, 403bs, 457s, IRAs, pensions, annuities, all of these accounts, you pay taxes on the back end. I'm not here to tell you that this one is bad. I believe in using all three. I use all three, okay? But what's good about it is it's typically where they match your money, and free money is always the best money. So yes, if your company is matching and you're still lucky in that sense, you absolutely take the match. They match 4%, you match 4% with it. You got a company that's gracious enough to give you a pension, great. Still tax later, but it's free money, okay? The third category is tax advantage. So tax advantage is a combination of the first two. And what it says is when when you save the money, you pay your taxes. So that's why the seed is taxed today. So you made 100,000, you saved 10,000 into these accounts, you still got to pay taxes on 100. You don't get the write-off today. But when the account grows big, because like I just said, compound interest does that for your money, you now get tax-free access to all of your money for the rest of your life. You live 20 years into retirement, this is the difference of approximately 80% of value for getting your taxes out the way, okay? Here's something to think about. Talking to a lady, did an event out in Dallas, Texas, and she loved her 401k, and I was all for her. They had a pretty healthy match. I was very excited for her. But one thing I said to her, I said, what happens when you get to retirement and your house is paid off, your kids are grown, you have no more write-offs, you don't own a business? How are you going to lower your tax implication at that time? We don't think about that. I know people who have intentionally taken a mortgage out on their paid off home just so they can have a write-off against all of the income that they have to bring in that's taxable. Again, I'm not telling you which one to do, but understand your options. If you choose to use the third one, which is what most people choose, because if I ask the question, right, I want you to put this in the chat. Would you prefer taxable or tax-free access to your money? Which one? Put it in the chat. I'd prefer taxable, number one, or tax-free, number two, right? I want my money tax-free or I want it taxable. That's a question for you to answer for yourself, you guys, because if you want your money when you're in retirement to pay you fully without a bunch of taxes, you got to learn to properly diversify. And there are experts in each of these situations, right, that can help you with your stock investments in the first one, that can help you with your retirement accounts in the second one, that can help you with your Roth account or your cash value life insurance, which are the only two as an adult that give you tax-free access to your money. You've got to understand what your situation is. And one thing that I tell people that you have to do is figure out what your goal is for the future. You want $1 million to live off of? You want 2 million? Figure it out. But then once you do a check on what your accounts are going to pay you, and then you take taxes out, then you get real with how much you're really going to have in retirement. Those taxes will absolutely hurt. So understand how to properly diversify. Last enemy is called risk, okay? Most of us have heard of fixed and variable, okay? So there's some pluses and minuses to both. A fixed account simply means that you know exactly what interest is going to pay. Every single year you know, okay? But like I said, the bad is it's very little interest. That's like the bank that gives us less than 1%. The positive is it's safe. I don't ever have to worry about losing it, okay? So there's pluses and minuses. Your variable accounts are our typical accounts that are attached to our jobs that market goes up, your money goes up, market goes down, your money goes down. And I'll do a quick annotation. There's your fixed account. There's your variable account. Okay, very high, very low, but who knows where it's going to be when you need it? Is it going to be up here thriving for you, or is it going to be down here like in COVID time, like in the housing market crash, like in Y2K.com, all those things? It's variable because we don't know where it's going to be when we need it. Okay, so using both of them, this is another type of diversification. Just understand how they work so you can make the best decision for your tolerance, which will change over time in most situations. Now, I want to share with you a third one. A third one, which I learned about, is called fixed index. Okay, so it's a combination of the two. So here's what it does. I'm going to annotate again. It says when the market goes up, so does your money. Market earn 5%, you earn 5%. Okay. But when the market drops, because we know it will, you take none of that loss, you become a fixed account at 0%. So your statement did not say negative anything. It just said 0%, same amount in that you had. Market go up again, instead of trying to recover from here, which who knows how long that takes, okay? You go up from here. Market drop again, because we know it will, you level out. So it becomes a stair step. You get the growth of the market, but you're protected against any of the losses. Now, you may be saying what I said when I saw this 13 years ago. That's too good to be true. Why would any business want to give me all of the positive, but give me none of the risk? That's not a financially savvy business. Well, I'll give you what a couple of those catches are, okay? So one of the catches is that if you want the money in a short term, this ain't the vehicle. There are penalties and fees and surrender charges for you to use this kind of vehicle and pull it out next year. Okay? Meaning they're long-term in nature. So let's say you got 10 years to wait, you're retiring in 20, 30 years. Great idea, right? But it's not for you to buy a house next year. It's not for you to get married in 6 months. Okay? That's one of the things. And the reason the companies are willing to do that is because they have time to make money off of your money. The reason we get no interest in the bank is because you can put your paycheck, like I used to with LAUSD, in on the 5th and spend it all by the 7th on my bills. So they didn't get to make any money off of my money. So there has to be something that's making these companies be willing to pay you better in situations, right? The other thing about it is sometimes there's a cap on how much you can earn. Okay, let's say the market does 15, your cap may be 10. And some people will say, no, where did the other 5% of my money go? Well, they have to have something in place for all of the downturns as well, because you take none of the losses. So again, this is why they need time to manage these types of accounts. Okay, now here are, you guys, the 4 places that you can put money. And again, my hope is, what do I keep saying? Diversification. That you use all 4. You use all 3 of the tax timings. You use all 3 of the interest as far as your risk, and you use all 4 of the places you can put your money. Okay, places for money. Somebody tell me what the first place is in no particular order. Where's somewhere you can accumulate money?
Banks.
Banks. Okay.
Life insurance.
Life insurance. Don't know who that was, but life
Yeah.
insurance. Okay.
Investments.
Investments. Where else? Dee Dee don't like it.
Real estate.
Real estate. Thank you for letting me pick on you. Those are the 4 places that you can legally accumulate assets. Okay? They all have pluses and they all have minuses. Banks are safe. Okay? Banks don't provide you much interest. Real estate is a risk, but it's more mitigated than a direct investment. Okay? Depending on what your style is, maybe you want to hold it, right? Buy and hold and work on appreciation, or maybe you're trying to flip and you have to find the right neighborhoods and stuff to do that. But real estate can do well for you, and it can be a risk and lose for you, but it's more mitigated than directly in the investment institutions. And yes, the last one is the insurance industry. The insurance industry, if I don't teach you anything before you leave here, it is not to just make whoever you leave behind wealthy. I am single, I have no kids, and I own $6 million of coverage. So obviously, it is not just for death. It's retirement partially for me. It's for me to be my own bank. I just purchased my car from my insurance policy, cash value. I have my living benefits. If I ever get sick, I'll never have to worry who's going to financially take care of me. And I ain't got no kids. Somebody gonna have to be responsible. That nephew, that niece, that godbaby, somebody gonna have to take care of me, right? I plan to be here past my parents, so it's not gonna be them. So making sure that I can set myself up properly. So it's really, really a matter of what's important to you and how you do what it is that you do. Any questions for me before we move to the next part? I see some things in the chat. Let me check.
I have a question.
Please go ahead, Shamir.
Put my camera on.
Oh, I appreciate that, my love.
All right, so for a person or people out there who are in the developing stages, who don't like work a regular 9-to-5 job, or probably haven't had that experience, myself who's more self-employed, is there an avenue to still kind of get into this angle? Because I feel like this is a lot of foreign language. Just
which angle are you talking about specifically?
Well, any type of investing or putting money where it's like I have to
do everyone.
Do it per client versus, working a regular job.
You can do every one of the options. You can do every one of the tax options. You can do every one of the risk options. You can do every one of the institutions. Okay. It's just a matter of you sitting down and figuring out what works for your current budget, what you want to grow into, what your risk tolerance is, right? I know for me personally, right? If I'm talking about the life insurance side of things, I pay some of my stuff annually. I pay some of my stuff monthly, and I fund some of my stuff based on commission checks. So there's flexibility depending on which products you have in place that you can do that. When you have, let's say, an IRA or a Roth IRA, if you're under 50, I think the number right now is 7,000. You can put that in $100 a month. You can put 3,000 in, but the limits are the limits, right? So it all depends on your financial situation and how you do get paid, right? Some people have to do stuff every week. Some people have to do stuff once a quarter. Some people have to wait till they know they get a bonus. All of those things still allow you to use any one of those options. It's just a matter of sitting down with that professional. I don't mind being that for you, and making sure that you understand what your options are. And if you sit down and you get the information and you have a person, take it to them. It doesn't matter. Just understand what works for your situation. But you are not cut off from any of those based on you being an entrepreneur, which is most of America right about now. You just have to make sure that you understand how depending on which product you use, how they will accept money, to make sure that it's something that you can stick to. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's when you have a lump sum, maybe there's a base that you have to pay, and then you get some leverage and how much more you put. But all of those things can be designed depending on which one of the institutions you work in. Just find a professional in that institution.
See, in that book, I like the 12-year book.
12-week year?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. But
girl, I got plenty for you at the end of this call. You're gonna be like, oh, I got my goal at the beginning of this year was to read 1 book a week. I held strong for about 3 months, and then life got to life, and I forgot I was supposed to be on Audible and all that. But yes, I got plenty for you.
I appreciate that.
Of course, sweetheart. Step 4, you guys, preserving your wealth and your legacy. I don't care how much money you have, how much assets you have or do not have. You should have an estate plan ASAP, okay? An estate plan means what to do after you are not here, okay? Things that go in the estate plan, living will and trust, is what not goes in, what should be a part of your estate plan, okay? What is a living will and trust? It is not writing down on a piece of paper that you want the house to go to this kid, and you want your favorite piece of jewelry to go to that niece, and you want your this to go. No. Okay. A living will and trust is several documents put together. One of them is a will and testament, which is a notarized document of where you want all of your things to go. And if you got that child, or you got that friend, or somebody that you are not friend, family member that you do not want to be a part of your stuff, put in there, I want $0 to go to this person. Now you can't say $0, $1 to go to this person. Okay. Make sure that you say what you want your things to do. Let me back up. I tell people this before you even get an estate plan or a living will and trust, okay? Which a lot of people like, I don't have time, I don't have the money, I don't have any of that. Do these things. Go get a notarized document of where you want your money to go, okay? Bank accounts, whatever, just get it notarized. It's true. Get you a health directive. Go to your doctor. They have them on file, and tell them what you want to be done with your life if you become incapacitated. Don't leave that to your family members to make the decision. Please don't. And these are the things that go inside of the living will and trust. So I'm saying you can do them separately, but just do these things to make sure you have them. Okay. The other thing you need to do is name beneficiaries on all of your bank accounts, on your job retirement accounts. You wouldn't believe how many, I worked with teachers for the first several years in this business. That's all I worked with. Most teachers did not have a beneficiary attached to their pensions at all. Okay. All of your things need a TOD, transfer on death, right? Because the moment you pass away, those accounts are locked. You want your family to go take care of things. That bank account is not open to them. Okay. You want to have a power of attorney, which is just another notarized document that says if you become incapacitated until death, this person controls all of the stuff. So you don't have to worry about which child or which niece or which person you do or do not want touching it. The person you want touching things and handling your affairs is there. Once you pass, then everything goes to what's in the trust. But prior to, you want to have those things in place. And when I say go get a living will and trust, these are the things that the estate attorney, and you should get it from a state attorney, not, I'm sorry, the what's the online thing? Don't get it from just a machine and you type stuff in, right? Go to an estate attorney and get it done. But it's going to have the living will testament. It's going to have the power of attorney. It's going to have the health directive. It's going to be a pour over will, which says anything that happened in your estate after you made this is still good. Yes, thank you. No legal Zoom. Sorry if you work for them, but go get an estate attorney that can actually carry out your trust for you. Okay. Any questions, comments, issues, or concerns on any of that? We don't have too much longer, but that's the 4 steps.
So
Quick
I have a
question.
question
Go ahead, Tony. And then Ms.
about
Edie.
the transfer on death. I
Yes.
have the living will and the trust, the living trust and the will, but I don't know if it specifically has that verbiage. Is that something I have to specifically
No.
have in
If
there,
you
or-
have a trust, an active
Okay.
trust, it has all of your accounts in
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Perfect, yes.
This is for
Yes.
someone who doesn't have it yet. Make sure that bank account has your child on it if you're, older person or something like that. Yeah, no. If you have a trust that is an active trust, if you, let's say, forgot a bank account, that's what I mean by the pour over will, everything will still be divided the way that you said
Okay,
at the
thank
time
you.
that you set the trust. Ms. Didi?
Just a quick question as to why we can't mention 0. Why it has to be $1.
I heard that I have an aunt who's an estate attorney. I have a couple of friends.
Mm.
I've heard that before. I could be wrong, but I believe that's
Mhm.
what they said. It needs to say 1.
Funny.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
I
Mandisa?
like this. It's also, I found it helpful, and someone did this and told me this, so I've been doing it for a lot of the accounts you have, and a lot of places where you have money left, and you need to have the passwords and everything in there. I know I put mine inside of my trust book, and it's a big, thick book, so with everything in it. So that's what I was told. So that's what I did.
It's a great piece of advice. And you guys, hear me when I tell you this. Your estate can be negative. Still put these documents in place. Make it easy for your family. God forbid, I don't wish this amongst anybody, but if you pass away tonight, what happens to your family trying to figure out all of your affairs? Put it all in one place. The big book, not the curtains, not under the mattress. Tell somebody where it is. Like, come on, y'all. We have to. Because we just never know. We drive in cars, things happen. We walk into the stores. We live in America. Who knows what craziness is going on? Please, please, please make sure you guys have these things taken care of and you tell somebody about them. More than one person. Those passwords are very, very important, Mindy. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. All right. Couple more things. Here's the building blocks, folks. What do I mean by this? The first layer of all financial plans should be insurances. That's health, that's disability, that's life. Those insurances should be first. Health insurance, I don't care what kind it is. Health insurance is a must. Having disability insurance, it is so very vital. Disability insurance, no one ever knows if they are going to break a hand and can't do your job, your work. You don't know if you're going to have a family member that you have to take off for and do FMLA for. You don't know, God forbid, you'll be in a car accident and can't work for a certain amount of time. Get your disability in order. Maybe you have state disability. Well, that only pays a portion. So get your supplemental. If you got your people that come to your job and do the AFLACs or the Colonials or the NTAs or the whatever, have your disability in place, you guys. Please, please, please. As far as your life insurance, I said it and I'll continue to say it. If anybody will be shortchanged by your death financially, you need life insurance. You need to calculate how much you need, which is the DIME method, D-I-M-E, all your debt, any income times 10, your mortgage balance, and if you have young children, your educational expenses. That's very important. If you are a human, you also need to have your living benefits because we all run the risk of becoming sick. And if your life insurance only pays you in death, you are missing out. There's so many more bells and whistles that do not cost an extra penny. You got to review your life insurance policies. That's first. Second is your savings, okay? How do you accumulate cash? We talked about things to think about. I'm going to emphasize tax savings. Some people, we mentioned we had an entrepreneur on the call. Some people need a real balance of tax stuff now to be taken out, right? The middle category, because we have to be able to survive being, in business. A lot of people have to do that, but balance it so that when you are getting to your savings in the future, there is a lot of tax savings. Because I promise, whether you think about it now or not, it is the greatest expense that we will all have, okay? Here's what I mean when I said this is typically done backwards. Most people start with investing. Investing should be last. What do I mean by investing? Investing comes with risk. It's the line that went up and down, variable. If your money can be lost, it should not be the first and biggest thing in your portfolio. Wealthy people have enough protections in place that if anything ever dropped, their family can still maintain their lifestyles. You've got to understand. And when I talked about the indirect investments, that was that fixed index option. But you got to understand just these basic building blocks. Protection first, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. Savings, making sure you have some tax savings attached to your long-term planning. And investments, only be willing to put away into an actual investment, which you're willing to lose, unless you use the indirect index investments. Okay. Let's talk a little bit to the women, which is all that's on this call, but you also have sisters, you have mamas, you have aunties, you have nieces, god kids, all those different things, okay? You guys, this was in 2023. In the financial industry, okay, there is something happening here that's been happening since 2019, and it is called the Great Wealth Transfer. Look it up. It's been around, okay? It is a transfer at that time of $68 trillion. Who is this money transferring from? It is transferring from the baby boomers, husbands in particular, to the wives. Why? Because men life expectancy is less than women, okay? These baby boomers are passing away. If you ever think about any finance or any industry that was most successful at a period of time, it was the industry that followed the baby boomers. When they were born, baby food became the biggest industry. When they became toddlers, Mattel, the toy industry, became the most successful because they had 90 million people to take care of. Then fast food because the parents had to work. Then the house or car market because the kids had to get around. Then the housing market because they got out and got a home. All of these things were happening. Then they retired. Now they're passing. 68, the largest population of people with the largest amount of money, the baby boomer population, are passing their wealth now. I tell people all the time, if anything that I showed you today was new to you or was a reminder for you to implement some strategies and changes in your life, you need to know that you're not the only one. And there are millions of women in this industry that are about to come into money in this world and do not know what to do with it. Okay. When I say Project 1000, the focus is for me very specifically to empower 1,000 women in every city that I go to get financially prepared for their finances. They're about to change whether you want to or not. Here's some numbers. Currently, women control about $10 trillion of wealth. Okay. It's expected to triple in 6 years. 6 years. From the husbands to the wives, and from the baby boomers to the Gen X's and the millennials. It's happening, you guys. I absolutely encourage you to sit down with a financial professional and see about your situation now, because that wealth can start for you tomorrow. It can start in a year. It can start in 6 years, but it is happening. One thing that I tell people, this industry has changed my entire life. Just the way that I think, the way that I can plan and prepare for my parents, things that I never even thought about, right? Not having kids, I wasn't thinking about all that, but I have parents that are living longer and longer and longer, who are going to need more and more and more care, things to pay attention to. And so when I came into this industry, it totally changed the trajectory of how I do what I do. And for me out here personally, traveling the country, is to find as many people as possible to support Project 1000, financially empowering 1,000 families. Get yourself empowered, understand how to empower other people, whether that be hosting events, whether that be, collaborating with the business that you do. We're doing something in Dallas, Texas area called DFW3, which is all about wellness, right? So it's wealth, wellness, and wisdom. So groups of women getting together to empower each other on the physical fitness, on the mental health, on the financial health, on just whatever arena, so we women can begin getting empowered and making sure that we understand things to do with our money as they come along. So you guys, that is, I believe, almost my time. Here are, please take a lovely picture of my lovely picture. Okay, I love it. The left QR code is my Instagram. The right is to schedule me. I am in the process of changing schedulers, but it should be active for now. But best way is, and I really, really encourage you guys, because I'm looking over the next personally, however many more days we have left in this year, 4 minus 31, 27 days, to sit down with as many people as possible and help them to start the conversation as far as their 2025. And so what I like to call that is a personal financial checkup. So if you're interested in that, free of charge, just hop on a Zoom with me. Let me give you some of these things in detail for your situation, but shoot me a text message with your first and your last name. And I will be sure to call you, tomorrow at the latest, and get some time on the calendar and just really be able to have this conversation and talk through this with you. I am physically located in the LA area, but I'm traveling everywhere these days. and Zoom is readily accessible. But I'm definitely here to make sure that people actually start implementing some of these things that we share together. So that is me. I am so grateful to have had this time with you guys. And I do want to, like I said, promised, give you a few of my books that I've been looking at. Hold on, go to my Audible. Okay. So 12-week year, definitely said that. One book that I read every single year that I was given in a mastermind group about 5 years ago. It's called 1 Minute Millionaire. Okay. 1 Minute Millionaire. Let me find my Audible. I read it every year. It is a 10-chapter book. And you can either read chapters 1 through 5 or chapters 6 through 10 first. But one of them is from the creative brain, is telling a parable of a lady who needed to make $1 million in 90 days, right? But then in the logical side, it tells you about how to build, real mentorship, how to really change your mindset of poverty. It's really, really, really an amazing book. And I read it at least once a year. So that's one of them. And that's by Mark Victor Hansen and Robert something. I can't see it. Most recent book that I just read is called Plan Your Year Like a Millionaire. It's a lady, her name is Rachel Rogers. Somebody recommended her to me. And it's really crazy because her book started off by saying, it doesn't matter if it's December 31st, January 1st, or October 23rd. Would you believe what day it was that I was reading this book at 5 o'clock in the morning? October 23rd. I said I got to read this entire book. So before I got out of bed, I read that entire book. And it is so very valuable about sitting down and really, really working out your vision before you start to get into everything, because your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, it really is about the vision that you have for yourself, and talking about those things that are getting in the way of us thinking that we really can have all of what we want. And so I really love that one. Atomic Habits, I've read that probably 2-3 times in the last year. Atomic Habits is by James Clear. It's definitely a implementation book. Understanding how to change the habits. What are the 4 steps of habit changing? How to change by, one thing he talks about is habit stacking, something that you need to do, implement it right after something else that you automatically do. Like you brush your teeth every single day, make that what happens before the brushing teeth or after the brushing teeth, but just different tools and strategies for us to make the changes that we want to be able to make. Very, very good book. I love The Slight Edge. Everybody here has some kind of goal for themselves, whichever goal it is. But The Slight Edge is by Jeff Olson. And it really just talks about doing the little things every day. That's the slight edge. Doing the things that, here's what he says, that are easy to do, but are also easy not to do. It makes the world of difference of you changing your entire life for the better. Of course, Think and Grow Rich, but I like the one that's called A Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. It's all about Black references of people who have applied the, I like you, Shamir. Thanks for all the hearts. Just a nice little fun book that I love. I Did a New Thing by Tabitha Brown. I don't know if you guys follow her, but when I say I love her, I love her. But I Did a New Thing was her most recent book. Who Moved My Cheese? There's a follow-up called I Moved My Cheese. I Moved Your Cheese. I read that one at the beginning of this year. Good to Great. The Power of Positive Thinking. And Eat the Frog. Eat the Frog is by Brian Tracy, and it really talks about doing the things that we don't want to do, but we know will get us to where we really want to be in life. Okay, so if you have a professional career and you want to get to the next level, what are the things that the people at those next level do, and what's the one thing that you hate to do? Eat that frog, and everything else will line itself up. So that's just a few books that I have that are at the top of my list, and literally they go on and on. Rich Dad Poor Dad, did I say that? Like, y'all got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Cash Flow Quadrant, you got to read that. Like, just understanding how money really manifests. Lots of great stuff. Anyway, does anybody have any last questions for me? And please feel free, you guys. I'd love to see my text blowing up with some folks that are very interested in taking and tackling those conversations headed into the next year. And like I said, hopefully I'll be asked to come back and you can bring your sister friends, your mama friends, your cousin friends, and we can have more of these things happening for us. Does anybody have any last minute questions for me?
Let me go back to the who moved my cheese, and you said I moved my cheese.
I moved your cheese.
I moved your cheese.
That was a follow-up, which came out years later. I just read, I think, earlier this year or end of last year.
Same author?
Same author.
Okay. I think I read the Who Moved My Cheese one. Okay. These are good. This is good. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you very, very much for being so not only open, because you shared a lot of your own instances, but you also said it in a way that was just very straightforward and understanding for myself, which I find it very difficult when it comes to understanding about finances and such. So I'll definitely be hitting you up, and I greatly appreciate it all, and for everybody here as well. Mandisa, beautiful woman. Oh my gosh, I'm loving.
I'll be having to tell her that. She'll be listening to me. I'm like, grow your skin. Her husband was walking in the background. He know what he got.
All the Black sisters here, and beautiful Black women. I love it, and yeah, thank you for the community.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that greatly. It is it's fun. It's what I love to do. It's my gift from God, and I just happen to love it. So we make it work. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Helena. This
You're
is
welcome.
so wonderful. I am so excited. I am coming into my excitement again.
2025 is about to be the business for everybody.
That's right.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you. I look forward to talking to you guys very soon. I'll turn it back over to Miss Mariama.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us. I just wanted to say a couple of things before we sign off for tonight. Just in case you didn't get all of the book titles, I'll be sending up a follow-up email with all of the book titles and a holiday wellness guide from, it's an African American mental health association. Ways to cope through the holidays, that will go nice with that. And please fill out the survey. We really want feedback so we can continue creating programming that responds to the community's needs. And yeah, please keep in touch for the rest of the year's programming. We have a lot of things in store until the last week of December. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Good night. Great.
Thank you, Helena, Jay,
I'm sorry,
Mariana.
can you put up